Welcome to Cinemondo with Kathy and Ramesh. Hello.
Hello.
We are here to do a movie review. It'll be light spoilers. What are we talking about, Ramesh?
We are talking about Meiyazhagan.
Mm,
It's been out there for a while, so I don't know how light the spoilers can be anymore.
I know.
So, yeah, this was
Not like
a
there's a huge twist or anything. Yeah, you just,
this was a 2024 movie with Arvind Swami and Karthi in it,
mm.
and yeah, let's just get started.
Yeah,
There's a
let's get
lot.
started. So I love Karti. I mean, he
Hmm.
was my way in because I'm still relatively new to Indian films. I mean, it's been a couple years. I'm trying to catch up, but I loved him. I loved him in Kati. I loved him in Penny Sullivan. I mean, he's been so many great movies. So he always kind of brings
Yes.
a little bit of guileless kind of humor. Like he just kind of just naturally has this sort of affect that makes you like him immediately.
Yeah.
Love him in that. So in the trailer, I feel like they didn't even really get across like how unbelievably sweet his character is because you kind of got a
Hmm.
little weird vibe. Like, is he scamming this guy, pretending like he
Yeah.
knows him? But it was a really, I was surprised how unbelievably great and emotional and sweet this movie was. Like, it blew me away. I just absolutely love this movie.
I mean, it's such a contrasting setup for both the characters,
Yeah.
especially like Arvind Swami played the character of his name is Arul,
Oh, he was so great.
and Karthi played the character, which is the title of Meiyalagan, and then it's the way they set up the whole idea was really very interesting. Like if you think about it, Arul is like he's more urban, introspective, and
Yeah.
emotionally guarded. He doesn't want
Yeah.
to about himself and his
Right.
emotions a lot. He doesn't
Yeah.
want to open up. But when it comes to Mayalagan, he's like he's just rooted and warm, and then
Yeah.
he's unpretentiously joyful. Like he just enjoys.
Yeah.
And the exact moment where he, when Arul comes to the village
hmm
at for the wedding, and then Mayalagan sees him, he's like all excited, like
Yeah.
even if let's say they are meeting after I don't know for 10 or 15 years, he still has that same joy and
Yep.
warmth for him.
Yeah, he
So
remembered him when he lived in
yeah.
the village because he had to move because they lost their family home, right? That's
Hmm.
how it basically says. So he was always really heartbroken about that. So I think it was really bittersweet for uh, him to go back to the village and then meet Karti. And then at that point when he met Karti, he didn't really know who he was. Like it's almost like he kind of like locked away memories of
Yeah.
that time because it was so painful. So I think part of it was him just dealing with that past heartbreak of him losing
Yes.
his home. So when he went back, he was kind of like, I'm going to come to this wedding and I'm going to leave early. I'm not going to even go to the wedding. I'm not, he was like, all like, I'm just going to leave and come. I'm just going to, so he's making all these excuses. And then he kind of goes and he keeps getting drawn in, he goes to
Yeah.
the wedding. Then all of a sudden he's got presents for the bride. And all of a sudden he's staying.
Yeah.
And Karti's like, totally wooing him, like, oh, you're so great. Let's do something. He's all,
Yeah.
and at the same time, in the back of his mind, he's like, who is this guy? Do I actually know him? Like, he wasn't totally sure.
Mhm. Yeah.
It was so good.
That is something interesting. Like as you said, Arul, he wants to stay away from all this.
Mhm.
He doesn't want to get connected to
Yeah,
the hometown that he grew up in anyway. But
yeah.
then he starts noticing that many people are actually waiting to see him.
Yep.
They admire him, they miss him, and then it's yeah, it's such a nice movie.
So nice.
So
And I
yeah.
love there's little touches, like, in the opening scene, they have, him as a younger man, and he's sitting there,
Hmm.
he's all sad, and he's sitting on this stair or whatever, and all of
Yeah.
a sudden somebody pushes him. They're pushing him.
Yep.
He looks over and there's an elephant standing there,
Elephant.
which I thought was so
Yeah.
funny. And there's the guy with the elephant. He goes, "You remember?" And that was such a creep. Remember when I first got this elephant? He was just a little baby.
He's-
He wasn't even taller than you. And so they have that sort of instant, like he's grown up with this guy. He's grown up
Yeah.
with this elephant. I thought that was a great little animal moment. And that's one thing I wanted to call in this movie in general. They had
Hmm.
so many great animal moments. That sounds weird, but for me, it's important, right?
Yeah.
So they have a ton of animal things in it that usually when you see an animal it turns out to be terrible because usually the animal gets killed or there's some kind of terrible
Yeah.
thing. This movie did not do any of that and in very surprising ways. Like
They
there's a great scene
showcased
with
it.
the elephant,
Feeding the parrots.
eating the parrots, and all the beautiful
Yeah.
parrots come. And all too, he's like setting out, looks like he's setting the table for something.
Yeah.
Like, is it a party? What's he doing? And also he puts out this little call and the a huge flock of these beautiful blue parrots. And it's a long scene. Like he's on
Yeah.
the phone, he's talking. Beautiful scene with these beautiful parrots. So we
Yeah.
have this great scene with the ox where he talks about growing up with this ox. And they have this great scenes of like where the ox is running around with his friends and they're playing with it like a
Hmm.
dog, right? And so he
Yeah.
calls him his baby boy, like his son.
Yep.
There's a great scene where, and I'm all like, see this the ox, and I'm like, oh, now I'm getting worried, you know. So the ox is kind of tied up in this beautiful, you know, kind of countryside, and his wife Cardi's wife calls him, and she's like, I know you're there with your son. He goes, no, I'm not. It's like, yes, you're. So I love that he calls the ox his son. It was very cute, and he was
Yeah,
very
because
proud of him.
there are so many touching moments, right? Like both of them, they care about animals in
Yeah,
general.
yeah,
And just to add one more, a couple of things. So the way Arul feeds the parrots,
yeah.
it's a pretty common thing. It's a
Mm.
very common thing, like in India, in some parts of India, where
Uh,
like people do feed birds and animals.
I feed him.
So yeah, so I wasn't surprised, and I felt really very nice seeing that kind
I
of a
love
scene
that.
after a very very long time. And
Mm.
as you said, and I like the way the director, he chose to bring back that elephant when Arul goes back to
Yeah,
his hometown for the wedding.
yeah,
He's like he recollects that memory, saying that he
yeah.
was this small, and then he was now
So sweet.
he's just a little taller than you, and then he's like all
Yeah.
grown up and
Yes, and
uh,
the elephant touching him with his
y-
trunk, you know?
yeah.
This is so cute, and
So
and anytime a director takes the time to fill a scene with an animal, like, they don't have to do that. Like, even when he's at his house and they show a couple cats kinda
mhm,
climbing around the furniture, and then they show a dog kind of it's like, that's the kind of thing I think just makes the film come alive. It feels comfortable,
yes,
it feels full of life, you know? It's like so just adding, like, pets into a movie, I know it sounds like a bit, like, so dumb, but to me, that also extends to the characters that they like you said, they love animals, they love
yeah,
nature, they're tied into that, and it wasn't just, like, all about the human connection, it was also about nature. And
yeah,
then
and
they
he
had a
was
very cool scene where Karti is walking along sort of toward the end, he's on the phone, and you see a cobra.
yeah.
Yeah, and he just looks at it and goes,
He's
"Huh,"
like
walks by, not scared, they don't make it a villain, they don't try and
yeah,
kill it, you know, it's like, he's just part of nature, we get it, you know, I thought that was so
yeah.
profound because that just does not
That
happen
was
in
very
any
profound.
movies. I love
Yeah, that's something that I really liked in that
Mhm.
movie. I mean, even when it came to the talks, how
Yeah,
Karthi narrates the story, saying that he was about to
yeah,
die, he
yeah,
was like malnourished, and then
yeah,
somehow he brought he was able to bring him in and
yeah,
then nurtured him, and then now
yep,
he's like the top of the game. So
yep,
they were also showing that popular, uh, I would say, a tradition
yeah,
in Tamil Nadu, and it's called Jallikattu. They have these ox basically running around, and then they try to stop it. So yeah, and then he was like he became the top of the game there, and and the other stuff too. Like there were so many things, especially about that cobra.
yeah.
He's like, yeah, I mean, come on, we are living in their habitat,
Yeah,
so
he's a very and so I love just that little overlay. It was very subtle, but I thought that
mhm,
was a really nice extra touch that that director brought that just shows you, like, an element of craft and emotion that he knew would help make the
yeah,
movie deeper. So, like and it's a pain in the ass to work with animals, so it's not like a small thing, and I'm sure the cobra is CGI or something, I don't know, probably didn't
yes,
have a real cobra, but at the same time, everything else was in there. It was like one of those extra things, you gotta bring people in, they gotta bring the animals in, they gotta, you know, handle it, the animal has to
mhm,
be in the scene, they might ruin it, you know, there's so many risks with having animals, and he did it anyway. So to me, it's like
yeah,
that guy is a good director because he knew it was worth the trouble to do that.
yeah,
It
it
was
is.
so good.
And I liked his attention to detail as well. Now that I recall, especially that cobra, like there is one particular scene where Karthi and Arvind Swami, they're sitting by the well, and then
Yeah,
they're drinking, and that's when he talks about there are cobras around here.
yeah, yeah,
They just had like 5 or 6 babies, and
yeah.
then
That was
and then Arvind is like, oh my god, he's nervous, and he's like,
he's city boy.
do they, yeah, and then he's like, do they come nearby this well? And he's like, Karthi is like, no, they never step on this side, they're never going to
No.
slide in here. But when you recall the end of the movie, that cobra slithering away, it actually
Yeah.
goes nearest
Yes,
towards
it was
the
very
well.
close.
I'm like, okay,
That was so funny. I know, but I love that he wasn't demonizing them or afraid of them. Like
yeah,
that's how optimistic and great that character
Mm-hmm.
was, Cardi's character was, because he was like he saw all the good in the world. Like he even the ox, like it was the good in the world. It was his friend. It was like his profound son, like, and he was so proud of him. And then he, was always he doted over it. Like you could tell it was very well taken care of. And it was just such a
Yeah.
cute. I know we're spending a lot of time on the animal thing, but it
But
just informed the character so much because you saw
mm-hmm.
like what a profoundly good person he was.
Yeah.
And I love how he's like they're riding the bike around together and he's showing him things. And it was just such a great little mini road picture in the middle of it where he's taking him different places. And it was just blew my mind. I loved it so much.
Yeah.
But
I
then
mean,
the whole trick
yeah.
is he doesn't remember his name. So the whole thing is he's trying to remember who this guy is and he cannot figure it out. He just doesn't know. And so the stress of the movie is he ever either going to remember or is he going to let Karti's character know that he can't remember his name? Like, it's
Yeah.
like, so that was the big moment of like, is he going to tell him or not? And then here's Karti who's going to like give him money, like going to help him. And he
Yeah.
still can't remember. He's just like, okay, I have to tell this guy. I don't remember who he is because this is getting to be too much. It was like, oh God, it was so painful. And he seemed very pained to do it. Like
Yeah.
he's just like, I can't remember, but he explains why.
That that was a crucial moment in the movie where even Karthi, he kind of has a heartbreak.
Yeah.
He openly admits that, you know what, I really don't know. I
Yeah.
don't recall your name at all. And then for a moment he feels really very bad.
Yeah. He
And then
kind of goes,
right after he switches, his mood changes. He's like, okay, let me help you
yeah.
figure out.
He's like, you
And
don't
then
remember me. Now you do. But I love he
okay,
still didn't say his name. He's like,
yeah.
I don't remember you. He goes, tell me your name. He goes, no, I'm not going to tell you. You're going to have to remember.
Yeah, and then he narrates this whole story, how we were during those young days, and then
Yeah.
he starts naming each and every kid.
It's so
Wow.
funny. It was so I know that I love that. He's like potato, and
Yes,
like they all had like vegetable names. So funny. But it just showed you again how caring his character was. Like
yes.
he just had fun with these kids. He took them to like get food,
Hmm.
or he was just having fun with them. Kind of took up their time, and he had like their little organized, fun way where they'd walk down
Yeah,
the street and they had their little funny names. It was just everything about this movie was such a feel good. Like it
yeah.
was just such a joy to watch this movie. I just loved it
It
so much.
was it was that, and also there is a point of time where Meiyalagan, he actually tells Arul how how much he admires him,
Yeah,
how he wanted to be like him, growing up, especially his kindness,
yeah,
the joy he brought into life. He's like, he considers him to be his role model.
yeah.
So, and I was surprised, there you can actually have a narration around the bicycle,
Mhm.
how it changed,
Yep.
it's how it changed one whole family's life.
Yeah. It was a
So that's
huge
what.
deal. So good.
Yeah.
It's all those little things, and I think
Yes.
that's what was cool. It wasn't this big dramatic, thing. It was all these little moments that lead up to this like will he remember, not remember? He remembers his nickname, but he can't quite get the real name. And it's like, oh my God, the very last word in the movie.
Yeah.
It's like so good.
So
So
there are so many things, yeah, in this movie. I mean, they explore love in all forms. It's like
mhm.
familial,
Yeah.
this platonic and communal as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, I like the way they have this whole movie, set up, and the whole story just revolves around one night.
Yes. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
a very condensed time frame. Yeah.
yeah, and the idea of doing it in Tanjavur, the the
Yeah.
hometown of Arul, that's a temple town. It's a beautiful town. The
Oh,
rural
that's cool.
backdrop and everything is really, like, it was
It was
vividly
very cool.
portrayed. Yeah.
Gorgeous. Yeah, it was really cool. Felt very warm. Like everything
Hmm.
felt very grounded, very
Yeah.
real. They didn't do a lot of tricky stuff in it. It was like it was first class movie. Probably one of my
Yeah.
favorite movies of last year for sure.
Yep. And the good thing is they didn't have a lot of songs. It's
No,
just,
that's true.
yeah. It's just
What's
like they
wrong with
had it.
them?
Yeah.
Not a lot of songs.
Yeah, because it was more like a background thing. Nobody was
Yeah.
singing
Yeah.
or doing anything. Um,
Mm-mm.
yeah, and I think even the brother sister relationship that they showed, that was really very nice.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that was, yeah.
yes.
Even the secondary characters, like they spent time. Like they didn't have a huge cast, but the ones that were on screen resonated.
Mm-hmm.
He
Yeah.
made sure that the scenes mattered and that the characters mattered. There wasn't a lot of extra. There wasn't a lot of like silly, you know, slapstick or any kind of overly dramatic. It was all felt very, very well modulated and calibrated. It was just very precise. And I thought that was so
Yeah.
great. This great filmmaker. And, you know, we can talk about also this director did 96, which was that Vijay Satapathy, which is also
Yeah.
kind of set
And
you up for that
Trisha.
emotional, you know, how people relate to each other emotionally and where they go and how they grow and how someone can actually pull someone out of, you
Yes.
know, depression
But
or
yeah,
out of their,
that even that movie, it revolves around just two characters.
yeah, in a
It's
very
Vijay
short amount of
Sethupathi
time.
and Trisha. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he's I think the director, C. Prem Kumar, he excels at blending, melodrama with
Yeah.
subtlety, I would say.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
is definitely melodrama in it, but not over the top, saying that, it's not like cringe kind of
Right.
stuff.
Well, yeah,
So
you think about the concept sounds like it would be high comedy. A man
yes.
goes back to his hometown and he can't remember his best friend's old name or whatever it is, you know. So he can't remember this kid's name. And then you're all like, will he ever remember it? Like it sounds kind of like, ha. But it was all very, very chill and cool because those actors were so good too. It was always just
Yeah.
very, very middle of the nothing was over the top. It was all
Hmm.
very calm and authentic. And you know, it's this
Yeah.
it was just great.
And I agree with you on Karthi's performance too. He delivers like his,
So cute.
I would say, career defining performance.
Well,
Yeah. He's just radiating warmth and sincerity.
yeah. Which he
And
does just
yeah.
naturally. So he
And
can't.
then, and also, like Arvind Swami's restrained
Yeah.
portrayal, that
Hmm.
complements very perfectly.
Yeah. Like he was
Yeah.
kind of the kind of grumpy, reserved, you know, and here's Karti
Hmm.
who's all like open and friendly. And you saw that kind of, you know, clash at first. And then they kind of, in a way, kind of blended a little where he was bringing, you know, Arvind out of his like, you know, curmudgeon-y attitude
Yeah.
toward everything, which was really nice to see. So great movie. Can't say enough good things about
Yep.
it.
So I would say it's not just a film, it's just an experience.
Yeah.
It's less about the plot and more about feeling, which
Yeah.
is very hard to get in nowadays in a movie.
So
So
hard. Yeah.
we definitely, I mean, if people haven't seen this movie yet,
Oh,
I would
gotta see it.
definitely recommend.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the journey. Like no matter
Yep.
even if you've watched this, you haven't seen it, you feel like it is it spoiled or not. It's like it doesn't even matter like what we talked
Hmm.
about because as you're experiencing it, it's not going to ruin anything. Like you can
Yep.
watch it's just the idea it's just being with these two people on this journey. They're so great. So highly recommend. And if you've seen it, let us know what you thought.
Yep.
Let me know. All right, let us know what you think in the comments below and we'll catch you guys next time.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.